What up, everybody? I actually wanted to do this video on one of my little stand-up videos, a little more in detail, but I don't have a lot of time for the day. If you've been paying attention to my streams, I've been talking about all the things that I have going. I'm not going to waste that much time on that. But we are going to talk about how Zatanna went middle in the recent Justice League Dark issue number 17. Now, let me set the scene first. I've talked about this numerous times, how all three Justice Leagues are some of the best runs in terms of comic books right now. If we're considering the main two, the big two, and we're encompassing all of them, right? And all the books that they have, Justice League Dark, Justice League Odyssey, and the regular Justice League are masterpieces. And they really are what's right with comics for a number of different reasons, not just with some of the characters that they are using, but because of how I don't want to say it corrects, but that addresses a lot of what I've had a problem with in terms of comic books. Now, DC still has some of this weirdness going on in a lot of their books, but they are doing this in terms of a better job when you compare them to Marvel. Not just that, though. I talked about how continuity has been an issue. Continuity has been an issue when it comes to mainstream comics. What DC does a better job of than Marvel. Marvel, it seems like a free-for-all. Even with their tie-ins, it just seems like a free-for-all. How many books can we put out? Who can we give a book to? Half the events don't make any sense when they're going on at the same time. What led to what, you really don't know. It's very hard to tell. But with the whole Year of the Villain thing, all that stems from one thing, which led from one thing to another. So if you start with like Justice League, No Justice, or more so you start with Dark Knights, League of the Dark Multiverse and all of that, Dark Knights Metal, that is. And then you go into Justice League, No Justice, and all that led into all three of the Justice Leagues. And all of that led into the Year of the Villain, which is the whole situation that's going on with Lex Luthor, Perpetua, both the Monitors, all of that. One thing has led into another. So continuity has been a great thing that DC has been sticking to when it comes to streamlining their events. If I'm going to be completely fair, they've been doing a great job of it really since Rebirth. Post Rebirth, DC has been doing a solid job. Not saying that they haven't laid some eggs with some books. They absolutely have. But a lot of these books are very solid. Justice League Dark is one of my favorite books out right now. Now, there's a scene where Circe has already taken over Wonder Woman's body. I'm gonna show you this because I can't give you the digital version because I don't have it. And you have a couple of the characters between both Dr. Fates. Who else is part of it? Bobo. Swamp Thing is actually disintegrated. As well as Constantine. So Circe takes over Wonder Woman's body. She places a spell on her mouth because that's how Zatanna basically does her powers. That's how she does her spells, right? She has to speak them out for the most part. Not for the most part, but she's done instances where she's written them out and stuff like that. But thinking fast, she knew that if she could do this to her, she would nullify her, because Zatanna is very powerful when you consider some of the things that she knows how to do. And she's very useful. Justice League Dark works very well for her in terms of how she works with the other characters. Now, what I mean by that she goes metal is right here. So in order to get back into battle, she cut her mouth open so she could, of course, say the spell. Magic. I love this character. I've long loved this character. But there's a talent among certain writers, and who's Tinian doing this, right? Is Tinian writing this I think he's doing all the Justice Leagues, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on. Right? I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Doesn't say. Anyway, there are there's no shortage of female characters by way of both big two. So this whole idea that you have to constantly copy, and Zatanna's been around forever, that you have to constantly copy characters just to make sure that they exist, make sure they come about, and grow, and the audience decides that they want to invest emotionally and monetarily into the comic book character. It's There's ways to do it. There's ways to grow characters, even if they are influenced by other characters. They can grow into their own, into some sort of originality, and they can also be loved by a lot of people, including men, believe it or not. Zatanna's a great example of that. Like, she's been around forever. She's been around long before any of us. Well, not any of us. Certainly longer than what I've been around for. But her being her between her father and her grandfather, and such. She's been around. She's been around forever, right? I believe the first Giovanni popped up before she did. Nonetheless, how Justice Leagues have handled their female characters among all three teams, the ones that do pop up, the ones that are utilized. There's a bunch of female characters in here. I mean, you should expect that when someone like Wonder Woman is popping up. But not just Wonder Woman, not just characters like that. Even, look, I can't say this enough how it's a complete myth that men wouldn't find interest in female comic book characters. Where did that come from? Maybe this is a theory, and I just came up with this off the top of my head. Maybe it's a case of people that aren't really into comics are becoming more into comics. So how they tend to see the world, we've talked about the oppression Olympics and stuff like that. How they specifically see the world isn't really how it is. So I guess what I would say may be the case, and this is just a theory, I can't prove for fact, but a lot of that comes from people, they see the world like that, and they see other avenues like that because they need these narratives to be true in order for their non-arguments or positions to be valid. But most men that I know, and yes, men are the primary readers of comic books, almost all of them can name off, that I know personally, can name off a bunch of different like female characters that they know and love. So where did that come from? I don't know. But I wanted to use this as an opportunity. We're not specifically just talking about the event. We're talking about a lot of different things, and this just kind of sparked my brain, which is what happens a lot of the times. We'll go on these tangents. But I highly recommend Justice League Dark if you're looking for a Justice League outside of just the Joe Blow Justice League. Though Wonder Woman is in Justice League Dark, she really has Justice League Dark, but she's also here. But it's a phenomenal book. It's a phenomenal book, phenomenal character. Zatanna has been absolutely amazing, and I 100%. I just love it. I love it. I love the book. And I think that you can get something out of this. And what this does prove, though, a lot of books in DC, I don't know where people got this whole theory that comic books are just for kids, right? Even like you have DC Black Label and stuff like that. But DC, the thing that makes DC stand out from the big two, they're part of the big two, is that, and this works to their advantage. A lot of people wouldn't agree with this, but I believe personally it works to their advantage. Yes, they've had Vertigo in the back in the day, and now they have DC Black Label. But even their regular lines are a little more mature. They're less, I don't know. It's dark, obviously, but they're a lot more mature. And for a mature audience, it doesn't feel like I'm just reading something that's specifically for kids. And not saying that Marvel's done that as well. Marvel has absolutely a lot of mature comic books out there, but just overall theme, this is a lot more mature. Thus, Marvel has their Punishers, their Savage Avengers. So I'm not saying that Marvel's for kids at all. I'm just saying if you had to choose between one and which one is going to be more adult oriented, not even considering Vertigo or Black Label, though they have those, DC is the way that you got to go. I mean, that's pretty dark, cutting your mouth open. Like that's pretty metal, right? Like straight up. Nonetheless, I love it. I love it. I recommend it. If you have not read Justice League Dark, go pick up Justice League Dark. Zatanna is a great female character. And the thing about that character that even though she's been around for a while, they always, there have been characters classically that have popped up. Like way back in the gap, right? When you consider John Zatar, Giovanni Zatar, like you consider all of them, makes sense. They pop up, but you don't ever, when you read her lore, right, and you read her stories that pop up, no matter where they pop up, they always seem, even with this one, actually, her father plays a role in it. They always go back to that, right? So Zatanna is just an interesting character. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's everything right with a female character. And I think that it needs to be acknowledged, considering that there's a lot of fluff out there and a lot of garbageness that people expect that you should support simply because they are female characters, and that's just not how it works. Nonetheless, one of the better female characters is her for a lot of different reasons, and maybe I dedicate an entire video for that. So go check it out. Man, Zatanna cut her mouth open, yo. It's crazy.